Alright, what is up guys? Loser Manic here, and welcome to a different sort of video. A lot of you guys may know, I wear a lot of band shirts. In fact, I'm wearing a metal shirt right now, or a metal band shirt. Um, and if I did it, to be honest, I'm surprised I didn't make this video sooner, because this is one of the things that pisses me off. Let me adjust the camera a bit. Um, so yeah, I want to talk about some misconceptions about the genre metal. Yes, I said metal because there are different subgenres of metal, but people who don't like metal fail to fucking realize that. So the reason I do this is because obviously I'm a metal fan, and whenever I say that to people, they always say there's one common thing people say, but I am gonna talk about some different misconceptions that people would probably say to hate them or to hate metal and whatnot. So let's start off with the obvious, and that is that metal is screamo. That's not true. Again, metal is the genre, but there are different subgenres. The band I'm wearing can be either considered new metal, or I consider them heavy metal because I'm a newer fan of Slipknot. Now look, there are some songs of theirs that are screamo, but that doesn't make them screamo as a whole. Another band I really enjoy is Avenged Sevenfold. I'll talk about stuff like that in a moment because there's some stuff people don't say or people say about Avenged Sevenfold. They are not screamo. Yes, two of their albums and one of the songs off of a tribute album is screamo, but that doesn't make them screamo as a whole. They Avenged Sevenfold is considered a heavy metal band, but during their first two albums, they were considered a metalcore band. So it's all based on the genre, mostly black metal, metalcore, and I think deathcore counts, even though I consider them more of growling metal and whatnot. So yeah, there are different genres of metal. People just don't seem to realize this because they don't do research, because they don't want to research a fucking metal genre. Alright? So, and by saying all metal music is screamo, you're basically discrediting bands like Halestorm, not to be confused with Halestorm, where where the lead singer Lizzie Hale screams, but you can still understand what the heck she's saying. So that's something you gotta take note of is what is yes, people do scream in heavy metal, but they shouldn't be considered screamo. Or I guess yelling is one of those. Yeah, I've always said there's a difference between screaming and yelling, and I always use an example of what some people may think is screamo or screaming in metal, but I'm like, no, they're yelling. So, the next one is that heavy metal is satanic, or metal is satanic. Again, you're discrediting some of the you're discrediting bands like Halestorm. They don't sing about satanic shit. If they do, maybe I'm just too stupid to realize it. Yes, during the making of metal, a lot of people thought it was Satan music. Um, in fact, Kelly Osbourne's dad, Ozzy Osbourne, or Sharon Osbourne's husband, depending on who people favor, is a heavy metal rock star. Um, a lot of people will say that he's the first one to popularize metal, and that I agree. But there are some other bands who popularized metal. Led Zeppelin with the song Kashmir, Inagata La Vida by Iron Butterfly. Sorry, my voice sounds raspy. I woke up and recorded this video, so my throat is a bit weird, but whatever. So yeah, and you're discrediting certain things. So what people don't understand is while metal isn't satanic, there is satanic bands. For example, the the genre of black metal, or the subgenre of black metal, that's satanic. But there's also what people call white metal, which is Christian metal. And if you guys have heard the band Skillet, then you guys know then that is one of those bands. I don't know any other because I'm not a huge fan of Christian metal. Um, so yeah, and a lot of people would, and I have a feeling a lot of people will say shit just to hate metal, like, oh, it's for black people or it's for guys only or whatever, or that metal isn't for black people. That's first of all, I haven't heard those, but I'm just thinking of like random excuses people would do to hate them because I feel like metal as a genre is like atheism. You have one bad experience with someone who is that, whether they're a metalhead or an atheist, and you just assume every metalhead or atheist is fucking terrible. That's not true. In fact, I have been to. I was at a Slipknot concert. That's where I got this shirt, and a lot of people were nice. In fact, there was one. Actually, I'll talk about that in a moment because I want to shine down some stuff. Um, so personally, I haven't met people who say like, "Oh, black people don't like heavy metal" or some shit like that. That was an exaggeration, but I feel like that's something people would try and say whenever they don't like heavy metal. Even if you prove them wrong, it's like, well, what about this? Yeah. Now there is another big one, which is that heavy metal, um, is the fault of several massacres, mass shootings, or murders. Look, yes, in the past people have used or have credited heavy metal to kill people. But that's not the metal band's fault. That's the person who did it, that's their fault. Because they knew what they were doing, and just because they labeled it or just because they said, "Oh, this band drove me to commit murder or whatever," doesn't mean you should discredit the entire fucking genre. You can probably discredit that one band, but even then, if they come out and say, we had no we do not approve of what that person did, then you gotta give them some credit. All right. For example, I was watching whenever so Slipknot released a documentary for their newer album at the time, which was the Point Five, the Gray Chapter. Um, and within that, they was talking about random like the history of Slipknot, going through each of the albums thus far with their new masks. Um, and one of the things the interviewers mentioned was that some guy had murdered a bunch of people. I think it's been a while since I watched that documentary, but they committed a crime, a heinous crime, and pinned the reasons for that on Slipknot. All of the members said, "We aren't like that." There was even one where one of the guys in the band who after learning you would expect it would not necessarily approve of it, but I have nothing else to comment on. He was like, "Look, I'm fucked up in the head, but nothing would ever make me want to do something like that. Heavy metal kind of keeps the body count low." Well, he said something else, but just kind of overexpressing it or rewording so that you guys can understand. And personally, for me, I agree with that. There have been times I have come home pissed off, stressed out about school, and then listen to heavy metal, and now I feel like I want to hug puppies or help at a homeless shelter, which would never happen because I don't like helping people. so to to pin heavy metal on people who commit crimes, you're basically saying video games causes violence. That's still within the realm because people don't like video games and people don't like heavy metal. So if you think video games don't cause violence, but you think heavy metal does, sorry, you're secretly saying basically you might as well just be saying video games causes violence. There's no connection to the two. People just don't like them. Now I do want to talk about some things. If there's any other miscommunications I think of, I'll bring it up. But now I want to talk about people who are new to heavy metal, which is something that happens. But there is one thing that kind of bothers me as a metal fan. I don't consider myself a metalhead because I don't follow the certain rules that there are. Firstly, and this is the biggest one, don't expect to hear the same shit. I'll give you an example. I watched a video where this guy who's like a hip hop fan go through and listen to some older metal music. First of all, he said Metallica is one of those. Metallica to me is considered thrash metal, up to the point where they got their new bassist Robert Trujillo, I think. Robert Trujillo. I don't know his name. Then I consider them heavy metal. So to basically, but that's not a big deal. First of all, don't expect people to be rude. That's the biggest one. Some people are metal elitists. I'm not. I'm a snob, but I'm not an elitist. I'm not gonna be like, actually Metallica's thrash metal. Get it right. Because I'd be like, well, listen, I'm just gonna let you know now. A lot of people would say that Metallica is thrash metal. So if some people don't mind, I don't mind. I just want to let you know there are some people out there. They are thrash metal, but if you call them a heavy metal band, people may get upset. So just to let you know, just next time, call Metallica a thrash metal band. I'm not one of those where like I'm an asshole about it. I just politely remind them of what they said, and kind of fix it. Now, just because you like a thing from one band, don't expect that the rest of the bands you hear are going to be the same. Because the dude listened to, I can't remember his name, so I cannot link the video in the description. The dude listened to Metallica and liked Megadeth. So now he tried to listen to some of the newer bands like Disturbed, Avenged Sevenfold, Slipknot, all that. And he said he wasn't a fan of them because he was expecting them to sound like Metallica. That is not true. You're not gonna get that. I prefer now personally. It is all depending on taste. I'm a new age heavy metal fan because kind of jumped on that boat. Well, I was born in the 2000s, so I'm kind of newer. I'm kind of a newer heavy metal fan, but whatever. I'm definitely a new age Slipknot fan, even though one of my favorite songs of theirs came out in 2001. So, um, so yeah, you got to find your taste. Don't just assume that, oh, you like a Red Sevenfold, you're gonna like Disturbed or Slipknot, because let me tell you, if you listen to some of Slipknot stuff, you may not like it if you like a Red Sevenfold. Also, instead of just searching for a band, um, find one band. If you don't like that, research what the band is. Try a dip. So like Metallica, they would be labeled under thrash metal. All right. If you like Metallica, try bands like Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, the Big Four. And I think Testament is one of those. So you gotta extend. You gotta extend to. You gotta expand the genre, not just the bands. And if you like some of those, then try different metal. Then if you don't like thrash metal, you're definitely not gonna like the higher ups. Um, so yeah, if you want my start somewhere, I don't have any because I just jumped into this metal pool, listening to like Avenged Sevenfold. But if you don't like Metallica, do try heavy metal bands. But be careful because there are some heavy metal bands who do scream or growl, such as Gojira, Lamb of God, even though some people may not consider Gojira heavy metal. For this sake, I will because I don't know them as a death metal band. And I don't like saying they're a death metal band because I really enjoy Gojira. And if you want to have real fun, check out Porno Grind or deathcore, metalcore, black metal, or who knows, you may like white metal. So yeah, don't just. To me, you shouldn't just restrict yourself to one genre. Like me, I enjoy heavy metal, but I also like deathcore, which is a crazy fun genre to listen to. I highly advise that even if you're a metal fan who doesn't like going within that realm, you gotta give it a listen. There is one band I will recommend for deathcore, and that's Whitechapel, because that's the only band I listen to with deathcore. Granted, I plan on expanding my knowledge of deathcore and understanding of deathcore, because if someone said give me five deathcore bands, I could maybe give you three, which is Whitechapel, Job for Cowboy, and Chelsea Grant. But I doubt any of those are. I know any of those other two are deathcore. I don't know. All right. And look, just because death is in the name, doesn't mean they're gonna be talking about death. Or that they promote death. There is a band, Cannibal Corpse, which is an amazing name, um, who is labeled under death metal. All right. Yes, they sing about gruesome acts of death, but no one in the band has ever thought about or will ever commit those crimes. Well, except for maybe one of the ex guitarists. So yeah, and so with that being said, for the people who don't like heavy metal, don't make these assumptions because they're not true. Um, and if you think that, and if for some reason you think metal is just it's just for a specific gender or race, where do you say that? Why do you say that? Where'd you hear that from? Because that's not true. Um, and if you guys are new to heavy metal or metal, there are a few bands that we'll recommend because they are a bit not heavy as you might expect heavy metal bands to be. I would recommend Avenged Sevenfold, even though you won't like them. There is one thing I did forget to mention, and that is that people will say that if you like this band, well you are a horrible person. Look, you can like whoever you like. All right. One of my favorite bands gets a lot of shit, and I mean a lot of it. I have not heard a single person that likes Avenged Sevenfold. Not to say they're not out there, and maybe I just haven't paid attention, but there are a lot of people, a lot of metal fans who say that, oh, you like Avenged Sevenfold, you need to listen to better metal music. You can like whatever you want to like, alright? And if they try and tell you, like, oh, you like this band? God, you shut the fuck up and listen to real metal. Don't listen. They can go fuck themselves, alright? Because you have your own taste. If a lot of the times these metal elitists would say, like, that's not real heavy metal. You want heavy metal, listen to things like Cannibal Corpse, Gojira, which is one of the bands I highly recommend if you're into guitar. If you're massively into guitar, I recommend um, Gojira. I will say Slipknot. A little bit of Slipknot. Avenged Sevenfold. If you're the but that all depends on your style of music. If you don't want the hardcore stuff, then I would definitely say Avenged Sevenfold, maybe. But if you want like the aggressive, if you do want to give aggressive guitar a try, I definitely recommend like death metal, black metal, or whatever. If you guys want screamo metal, definitely listen to black metal because you're gonna get some weird shit. Or who knows, maybe you're high as fuck, then listen to doom metal or stoner metal. Yes, that's a thing. There's like metal for everything. Or if you are into K-pop or J-pop or any sort of like types of the Asian types of music, there is definitely one for those, baby metal. But oh my! If you're gonna listen to baby metal, have fun. I listened to one of their songs because they were gonna perform here, and one of my dad's friends went to go see baby metal, and my dad had no clue what they are. I was like, they're a heavy metal band, or they're a metal band. I don't know what this specific genre is. I think it's kawaii metal. I thought it was candy metal because of the fact that I don't know. It was some weird name. It wasn't K metal or J metal, so I think it was kawaii metal or something. I'll just call it candy metal for the time being until I figure out what the fuck the genre is. Um, and it's based from the one song I've heard of baby metal. It's basically heavy metal music with like the voices of Japanese or anime women, or like anime girls, like little girls. So I don't know. So if you want to enjoy some of that, go on ahead. They basically have heavy metal for everything. Just like in how there are specific genres that are for your taste. Just like in how there's different genres that are for your liking. You want stoner pop? I'm pretty sure they have that. If they do, I want to listen to that shit. So yeah, and if you're a Christian, there you go. You. I just gave you a band name already. Skillet. I would. If you're Christian, I will say definitely stay away from black metal because that's the exact opposite of what you're gonna of your beliefs. They sing about it at least. I doubt anyone's a Satanist. I don't know of any, but whatever. And yeah, don't Google the murders involving heavy metal bands because that just ruins what I said. So yeah, if you are a metal fan or if you're new to heavy metal, I mean, welcome. I'm glad to have you. I can't speak for everyone else. And if you're a heavy metal or if you're a metal person looking for new genres of metal, kind of expand your knowledge. For a good long while, I mostly stayed on Avenged Sevenfold. In fact, I used to hate Slipknot, believe it or not. I used to hate them just because I thought they were too aggressive, and their masks were scary. But now I really love them. If it's not obvious, the fact that I've worn two different Slipknot shirts in the course of maybe 2 weeks. So, with that being said, if you guys did enjoy this video, however, let me know by leaving a like. Any metal fans here who would speak on behalf of others, what are some unwritten rules of heavy metal? And I will say one thing though, if you go to a metal concert, you are not gonna get a terrible experience from assholes. We are not all assholes. In fact, whenever I went to the Slipknot concert, which is where I got this shirt, there was we was the openers were Behemoth, Gojira, Volbeat, and the main was Slipknot. Actually, in that order. So Gojira had finished, and so we was on to Volbeat. And there was an amazing couple. I think they were married who went to go see Volbeat mostly, but I think they stayed for Slipknot because that's who they came to see mostly. Which always bothered me. Like you have all this openers that people may not care about because they came for the main group, which in this case was Slipknot. And we had a nice conversation. In fact, one of the guys, one guy almost gave me beer because apparently I look 21, which happens. It hasn't happened a lot, but when it happens, it happens. So yeah, we're all nice people. And just because one of your ex-boyfriends, girlfriends, whoever, just because one of the guys who bullied you is a heavy metal person, doesn't mean we're all assholes. It's like atheism. Just because you have a bad experience with an atheist doesn't mean all atheists are assholes. That's far from the truth. Alright? And you want to know why? Because not everyone is like that. And it's just facts. Just because a person has a terrible experience with Christianity doesn't mean that all Christians are assholes. I should probably tell that to my mom. Now look, I do have negative experiences with people who are different from what I believe or what I like. I do have bad experiences, mostly bad experiences with people who like rap music, but I don't hate rap music just because of those people. I hate rap music because I don't like the music. That thing needs to and has to, if I didn't say that already, has to apply to everything else. All right. So if you had a bad experience with someone who likes heavy metal and that's why you hate heavy metal, then don't do that, because you may actually like heavy metal. You may be sick and tired of your music that you're listening to, and you want to listen to metal. Go for it. All right. Um, there are some people who now look, there are certain bands out there who may seem nice but are complete assholes. I don't know of many at the moment, so I really can't speak for that. Now there are different ways to. There are certain bands who back up what you claim, but there are also some others that are against your claim. Like the hypothetical one where I said all metal is for white people, which, to be fair, I have seen a lot of white people who listen to heavy metal, but that is not true. There are certain bands that have a black member in them. I think, is it Sepultura? I think Sepultura is one of those bands. And the fact that, and including the hypothetical that heavy metal is just for guys, no. Like I mentioned before, at the Slipknot concert, there was a couple, a man and a woman who were married and who were at a Slipknot concert. And plus, one of the members of the band Halestorm is the lead singer and a female. So, I don't know where those hypotheticals came from, but those were just exaggerations to prove that your claims may not be what you said. Now, there are certain metal genres or metal bands that could be racist, and to that shouldn't dissuade you from the fact that all metal genres is like that. All right. Or I don't know of any sexist bands, people who are anti-women. I guarantee you there are some like racist metal bands with their songs and they believe in real life, but there are now the biggest one is that heavy metal is homophobic, and to an extent I will say that there have been either one or two people who have murdered because someone was a homosexual, but as a whole that's not true. So yeah, with all these weird hypotheticals aside, I do wish people would listen to heavy metal. They don't have to like it, but they have to give it a chance. And if you don't, then don't go off saying that heavy metal is this, heavy metal is that, if you're not gonna do research. Alright? For example, I just say rap music is just nothing but drugs, is singing about drugs, getting or fucking bitches, or just about women or getting money as a whole. That's because I used to listen to Kanye West, which is probably why I'm partially deaf. and I to an extent I will say that's kind of true with the Cardi B stuff. It's talking about having a wet ass pussy, which is something I don't advise saying, but that's kind of true. I don't like pop music because of the fact that it's so. It's heavily edited. It's supposed to be corrected and all that. It just doesn't work. And I like the fact that like, because a lot of times musicians were working like 4/4, but in heavy metal, mostly to my knowledge, I don't know time scales. Or time signatures, they usually were working like 4/7, which I don't know if that's a real thing, but hypothetically, or 7/8, or 5/4, 10/12, that type of stuff. Now there are certain bands I will recommend. As a whole, a lot of people seem to like Tool. I'm slow on that bus of Tool, just kind of like how I was slow on the bus with Slipknot, so I wasn't able to see their .5 tour, which I wish I had, because shit like that would have been awesome. A lot of people like Tool, a lot of people like Metallica. I'm not a big fan. Don't mind the fact that my gauges are actually Metallica. And in fact, I have the package for my gauges, and on it is the Metallica symbol. So just because I'm not a massive Metallica fan. Not as much as I am Slipknot or Avenged Sevenfold. What are some other? I don't know of any other bands I could recommend because it's all about taste. A lot of people do seem to like Tool though, or Metallica. But if you kind of like that realm, kind of explore off that. All right, and yes, there is even mathcore. Don't ask me what that is. I have no clue what the fuck. I don't know what mathcore is. So yeah, if you told me to explain what mathcore is, I could probably give you. It's like some like weird time signatures. So yeah, give heavy metal. Give heavy for some of you guys who think, oh, heavy metal is just screamo. Give different genres of metal a listen. You may find, and please distinguish the difference between screamo, growling, and yelling. Because just because they sing loudly or they do what is considered screaming doesn't necessarily mean they're screaming. And if they are, that shouldn't dissuade you from the fact that if 90% of the song is just regular singing, or maybe 99% of the song is screaming, and there's like maybe a 5 second part where they're screaming, that should dissuade you from the fact that it's just, you shouldn't say that it's screamo because it's not. Screamo is where they scream the entire lyrics in their songs. But yelling or screaming is different for me because in the sense of like if you're screaming a part of a song, like in the song Tonight the World Dies, there's a part where Matt Shadows screams a part. He screams, I don't mind. That I'm not gonna scream that because I'm not going to. But they're not screamo metal. That's not a screamo song. Now their first two albums, and I would say God Hates Us by Avenged Sevenfold definitely is screamo at the very least. Even though some people would say God Hates Us isn't, I for this purpose I will say that it is. So yeah, and if you're a long time heavy metal fan, then maybe you can speak on behalf of others. What are some things that heavy metal people, or that people who are new to heavy metal need to? Is there a certain rule that they should follow when first listening to heavy metal? Um, and if you're one of those people who are listening to heavy metal, and kind of unsure, just that's fine. But to me, heavy metal is like pineapple on pizza. All right, if you hate it and if you like it, cool. Don't listen to what other people say. If you hate it and you've given it a try, fine. Don't just say I just don't harass people for it. And if you hate it and you haven't tried it, go fuck yourself. All right. Granted, I will say that about some other. I will say the same thing about other genres. I don't like country. I don't like pop. I don't like, even though the only exception I have to pop is pop rock, and that's mostly Matchbox 20. But that's really here and there. We're talking about metal. So yeah, I will say that's about it. Make sure to leave a like. Mostly if there are certain bands that you enjoy, that you think other people should give a try. Um, Subscribe. This isn't gonna be just like a regular thing when I talk about heavy metal. This was a one-time thing, however. Actually, another band I recommend is Halestorm. Not Ailstorm. They're pirate metal. Halestorm. Which is that they're actually really good. And like I mentioned before, the lead singer is a female, so if that's something new you want, awesome. If it's not, just give it a try. You may actually like their stuff. Because to be honest, I was kind of a bit skeptical the first time I listened to them because I've only heard maybe one or two songs, and I was like, this is it. No, they actually have really good stuff, so I recommend that. And also, Just Google like list of metal bands people don't like and just listen to those. Those bands: Disturbed, Avenged Sevenfold, Godsmack. Those are the three that I know people do not like. Avenged Sevenfold I don't understand. Disturbed kinda, and then Godsmack not really. A lot of people don't like those three bands, which I don't get. I've been harassed just for liking Avenged Sevenfold. Well, not directly. I was like, oh, you're like Avenged Sevenfold? Go fuck yourself. There was a video I saw where it was like how to be a metalhead, and someone said, and if you listen to Avenged Sevenfold, jump off of a bridge. I'm like, no, I'm good. I, I don't want to fly today. I'm not in the mood for flying. So so yeah, that's pretty much it. This intro is, or this outro is super long. So yeah, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that. I am Loser Maniac. Peace.